and this is the Minute. Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi is in the hospital after sustaining an injury on an overseas trip. The former House Speaker was in Luxembourg to mark the 80th anniversary of the Battle of the Bulge. Her office says she looks forward to returning to the U.S. Jurors will return Monday afternoon to continue deliberations in the murder trial of Nemo Momeni after 6 days of deliberation. The jury has not come to a verdict. Jurors could have opted out of that trial after the sixth day, but decided to ask for more time. The 49ers playoff hopes crushed after a tough loss to the Rams. It was a wet one on the field at Levi Stadium last night. Rams winning this one 12-6. Tensions were high off the field after linebacker Devondre Campbell refused to play after getting called in. The Bay Area's only primetime newscast at 8 and 9 p.m. on Pix Plus 44 Cable 12.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
It's a wet, cool, and breezy day for us today here in the Bay Area. And as we take a look at this storm on Futurecast, there's going to be times where we don't see too many showers, and then there's other times where we see some of the heaviest rain we've experienced all month long. Here's what's happening for us. Throughout the morning commute this morning, the roads were a little bit slick with just some light showers sweeping through. But take a look at this timestamp right above me. Around 2 o'clock this afternoon, we're just mostly dealing with partly cloudy skies unless you live up near Santa Rosa. They're going to take the brunt of the storm into the afternoon hours, and then it starts to tilt. As we head into the overnight hours tonight, early morning hours tomorrow, this weak atmospheric river brings in some heavy rain for us. Widespread throughout the Bay Area along our coast with windy conditions up to around 70 miles per hour at times, all the way off into our inland spots with that heavy rain lasting into the 8 a.m. hour tomorrow morning. So it is going to be a very wet and heavy rainy setup for us into the morning hours tomorrow, but then we dry up fast on the back end of tomorrow afternoon. By 1 o'clock, we're just seeing some lingering showers up in the North Bay, clearing up fast into the overnight hours, and then we'll see dry conditions Saturday evening all the way until Sunday morning, lasting into Sunday afternoon. But the other thing I want to mention too, we're under a flood watch up in the North Bay until Sunday, but we're also dealing with a high wind watch issued by the National Weather Service all along our coastline heading into the overnight hours tonight, early morning hours tomorrow. We can see wind gusts up to around 50 to 60 miles per hour all the way down into Half Moon Bay just as we're waking up tomorrow. So keep that in mind if you do have any of those early morning plans scheduled. You're probably going to want to push it into the afternoon. On the good part though, we're drying up as we head into Sunday, a little bit more rain into Monday, and then clears up as we head into next week.
Well, here in the U.S., owning a gun is a constitutional right, but if it falls in the wrong hands, it can have devastating consequences. But as we've been reporting, there have been some improvements when it comes to gun violence right here in the Bay Area. Just this week, San Francisco announced a 37% drop in homicides from last year, while Oakland saw a 34% decline. But even one life lost is just too many. That is why one local group will host a gun buyback event this weekend. And as Kevin Coe shows us, joining them is a Bay Area mother who's turning her own heartbreak into a fight for change.
Leslie Hugh is showing us the most important person in her world.
This is Pierce with my dad and my brother. They all have birthdays in the same week.
Pierce was a third grader in San Francisco. 3 years ago, he was shot and killed by his father, who then took his own life.
You know, it's really hard to show up because I have to relive it over and over again. But I do it because I find the courage to do it because I want to help protect other families and to make a difference, to make sure that no other family has to live through this, because this is really hard to survive. It's really hard to deal with.
When Leslie was forced to say goodbye to her 9-year-old son, she never wanted another person to feel her pain. That's why she created Pierce's Pledge, a nonprofit aimed at keeping kids safe from gun violence. That includes this online map of locations where anyone can safely store a firearm, and an online form to take Pierce's Pledge, where lawyers vow to take preventative gun violence measures with their clients. Pierce was killed in the middle of a custody battle, something Leslie never could have imagined.
This could never, it's not even in the realm of possibilities, and yet it happened. But coming to find United Players when I was introduced to them and what they're doing, I'm so grateful that they've been fighting this fight.
The United Players are led by Rudy Corpus, born and raised in San Francisco.
What you see here are all unsolved murders in San Francisco.
For the United Players, preventing more of these posters means fighting gun violence. The nonprofit is made up of reformed gang members and former prisoners with one motto: it takes the hood to save the hood. The man wearing it on his back is Everett Butler.
How you guys doing, man?
All right.
All right, all right.
Butler doesn't take any step for granted. He was a teenage gang member who got a life sentence for a deadly shooting. Then he got a second chance.
I do this work to help save lives, and I used to promote taking lives. However, today you can find me in the parking lots, grocery stores, and even up and down these streets of San Francisco putting up flyers for this gun buyback that we're going to have.
The United Players Gun Buyback event allows anyone to turn in guns for money, aimed at getting firearms off the streets. SFPD melts most of the guns.
These are gun parts that are dismantled that SFPD gives me.
Parts unmelted are used to make art, like this Monarch.
Look at this is another one that was made and created out of gun parts. This is all 100% gun parts.
What they're doing is for everybody, even if you think that this could never happen to you.
Through all of Leslie's pain, one question can still make her smile.
What was he like?
Pierce is awesome.
Fun, full of joy, a cool kid with some serious moves. Saying goodbye to Pierce will always weigh heavily on Leslie's heart, but his legacy is still being written through everything he inspires.
Well, the United Players Gun Buyback event will be held tomorrow from 8 a.m. to noon at the nonprofit's headquarters at 1038 Howard Street. Well, the jury in Nima Momeni's murder trial will be back in court on Monday afternoon. They still have not been able to reach a verdict after 6 days of deliberations. Momeni is the tech consultant charged in the stabbing death of Cash App founder Bob Lee. Yesterday was the hardship date set by the judge during jury selection. Jurors could have opted out of the trial if they wanted to, but no jurors are dropping out at this point. Still, there are questions about the holdup in reaching a verdict. Lauren Toms has more on what we're learning about the jury.
A jury pool of 12 San Franciscans are staying on to continue deliberations after 6 long, painstaking days, deciding the fate of Nima Momeni. In a first for the judge, jurors have asked for more time to deliberate past the last day set by that judge during jury selection that would allow jurors to go back to their regular lives. But each juror opting to finish the job of unanimously agreeing on a verdict. Momeni's attorney, Sam Zanganeh, telling reporters it's no easy task for juries, Momeni, or for the families.
When you have other people deciding your fate, waiting an hour is an eternity, right? Imagine waiting 6 days.
Members of the jury whose identities remain hidden for safety reasons have bonded in the last 2 months since uniting during jury selection. Throughout the trial, they've asked dozens of questions to witnesses, signaling they're inquisitive and thorough, but remaining closed-lipped on where they may land on a verdict.
So they've endured a lot, and I know that they want to complete their job, right? I think that's what they're trying to do. But we're at the conclusion of day 6, and there's no answer.
Attorney Shannon Dugan, who sat through the trial and jury deliberation, says they have one of the hardest jobs in this case as the weight of their responsibility hangs heavy.
But when it comes time to evaluate that evidence and make a decision when they've got a man's life in their hands with Nima Momeni, or having someone take accountability for taking a man's life like Bob Lee, that's a huge responsibility, and they may very well be having very different opinions.
Jurors on Thursday seen embracing and sharing stories, but at times visibly torn about their decision. Zanganeh saying they're all committed to the job.
12 people that have dedicated a good portion of their year to be away from their families and their jobs, to be dedicated to do this civil service. And, I think that, our hats off to them. That's a tough thing to do.
And we will be ready to bring you the verdict whenever the jury reaches one. You can find all of our coverage of this trial on our website at kpix.com in the free CBS News app. Well, the state has given San Francisco the green light to turn the Great Highway into a full-time beachfront park. The California Coastal Commission unanimously approved the permit. This comes after Proposition K was passed to ban cars on the 2-mile stretch between Lincoln Way and Sloat Boulevard. Well, next spring, the community will get to weigh in on the park's design. 10 years ago, San Francisco pledged to end traffic-related deaths in the city by the end of 2024, but we have already seen more traffic deaths this year than in all of 2012. A city supervisor says one big factor is that police are not doing enough to enforce traffic laws. This chart shows the number of citations that have been issued have started to rebound after dropping to nearly zero when the pandemic hit. But there is still a long way to go. Suji Nam has more.
After a decade of declining traffic citations, San Francisco police say they're moving in the right direction when it comes to cracking down on lawless driving on city streets.
We've definitely made an upward trend, but we still have a lot of work to do.
SFPD Traffic Division Commander Nicole Jones presented the latest numbers at a traffic enforcement and street safety meeting Thursday. The agency issued nearly 13,000 tickets by the end of October this year, a big jump from just a little more than 5,000 citations in all of last year.
I think we were very honest about what we're doing well. I think we were open about what we need to improve upon, and I think there's absolutely a commitment from the department to make sure that traffic safety is a priority as well as enforcement moving forward.
But it's a far cry from the nearly 130,000 tickets police wrote 10 years ago. The numbers have been declining since 2014, with a sharp drop in 2020 due to the pandemic.
You're still far below the enforcement levels the department was at prior to the pandemic, much less 10 years ago. And I'm concerned that we don't really have a clear plan.
District 8 Supervisor Rafael Mandelman asked police to report on their plans to make the streets safer. He says while the numbers are encouraging, change won't happen unless staffing improves. Back in 2014, the police department had 77 traffic officers compared to 43 officers this year. There's also been a change to state law.
The other thing we've heard is that it's actually much more time-consuming to give out a ticket today than it was in 2014. A citation, writing a ticket might have taken 5 minutes then. Because of the data reporting that has to happen now, it might be more like 20 minutes.
With the uptick in citations this year, SFPD says injury collisions are down compared to last year. But the number of traffic fatalities are higher this year. 31 collisions resulting in 34 deaths.
Using enforcement.
Jody Medeiros of pedestrian advocacy group Walk San Francisco says the progress with traffic citations is a step forward, though the city has a long way to go to meet its ambitious Vision Zero goals set 10 years ago.
It's one of the pieces of the puzzle. So this is not just a silver bullet. Enforcement doesn't do everything. We need our city's streets to be designed for safety over speed, and also we need drivers to realize that they need to obey the law.
Police say they're looking forward to the rollout of speed cameras in dozens of locations across the city. And also on their wish list in the coming months, radar for motorcycles.
And Supervisor Mandelman has advised Commander Jones to bring Police Chief Bill Scott to their next hearing. That is now set for the spring. Still ahead on CBS News Bay Area, suspected drunk driver charged with murder in the death of a San Jose Community Service officer is now out on bail. A legal expert weighs in on the controversial decision to let him back on the streets ahead of the trial.
Is this the typical case for granting bail? Maybe not. Is it outside the judge's discretion in looking at those factors? Probably not.
Plus, thieves drove away with one thing a Bay Area man could not imagine losing: the phone call that changed everything. And a beloved holiday tradition in the South Bay is facing a budget crisis. Details of the plan to save Christmas and the party.
No verdict yet in the trial of the murder of Bob Lee.
Defense attorneys closing the door on their case defending Nima Momeni with a Hail Mary in their closing argument.
Now it is up to the jury to weigh 21 days of testimony and thousands of pieces of evidence
to determine whether they will convict Nima Momeni of first-degree murder or second-degree murder or not guilty altogether.
Verdict Watch continues weeknights at 11 on KPIX.
mention too, we're under a flood watch up in the North Bay until Sunday, but we're also dealing with a high wind watch issued by the National Weather Service all along our coastline, heading into the overnight hours tonight, early morning hours tomorrow. We can see wind gusts up to around 50 to 60 miles per hour, all the way down into Half Moon Bay just as we're waking up tomorrow. So keep that in mind if you do have any of those early morning plans scheduled. You're probably going to want to push it into the afternoon. On the good part, though, we're drying up as we head into Sunday, a little bit more rain into Monday, and then clears up as we head into next week.
Well, the suspected driver charged with the murder for the crash that killed the San Jose Community Service officer is out on bail. The judge's decision to release him has raised objections from city leaders and now law enforcement who believe he is still a threat to the community. But Kara St. Cyr spoke to a legal expert who says it's not so simple.
It's been 4 months since the family of community service officer Long Pham bid him farewell at a heartfelt memorial service. In August, Pham was conducting a traffic stop when he was hit and killed by a suspected drunk driver. His colleague, CSO Veronica Baer, suffered severe injuries. The suspect, Juan Huerta Palacios, was charged with murder and held in a San Jose jail until Wednesday when a judge granted him bail, a decision that Mayor Matt Mahan is calling a miscarriage of justice.
It was a needless, senseless death, and one that was entirely preventable.
Mayor Mahan says the judge's ruling is not only a slap in the face to the victims in this case, but also a public safety risk.
That it does create unnecessary risk to have someone back in the community who has not yet actually faced a consequence or gotten the treatment that they need and proven that they are on a path to turning their lives around and are no longer going to endanger the community.
Huerta Palacios has a history of reckless driving and was previously convicted for driving under the influence. Mahan, along with the DA and the sheriff's office, say that history should have made Huerta Palacios ineligible for bail. But Jessica Levinson, a law professor at Loyola Law School, says bail is really at the judge's discretion, and there are numerous factors to consider.
We're looking at flight risk. We're looking at the person's threat to the community, the person's threat to themselves, whether or not they are an alleged repeat offender. Typically, in a murder case, you might not see that somebody gets out on bail. And or at the very least, you might see a lot of conditions and restrictions attached to that granting of bail.
Levinson says it's unusual for judges to grant bail in cases where there's evidence of repeated offenses. If it is granted, Levinson says the judges likely implemented strict bail stipulations that prevent the suspect from getting behind the wheel or even leaving the house.
This is not a typical murder charge in the sense of this is not first or second degree murder. We have a charge here of murder based on a tragic death and also on a previous conviction for driving under the influence. So, is this the typical case for granting bail? Maybe not. Is it outside the judge's discretion in looking at those factors? Probably not.
Ultimately, the judge can reverse this decision. If the plaintiffs can bring new evidence to show that the suspect is a danger to the community, the judge may reconsider.
In a statement, San Jose Police Chief Paul Joseph said, quote, previous warnings to this defendant about the dangers of drunken driving did not prevent him from killing Long Pham. We should think that these restrictions adequately protect the public from his bad judgment again. Well, following the deadly crash in August, police found the suspect registered blood alcohol levels were well above the legal limit. Well, a Stanford data scientist who was killed while cycling in San Carlos is now being remembered. A memorial was held yesterday. She was struck by a car last month at Highway 101 overpass that cyclists say has been a danger for years. Cyclists walked together to the site where she was killed. They set up a ghost bike and lit candles to honor her memory. Cyclists say the Holly Street overpass at 101 is one of the most dangerous streets in the entire county for bikers. They are blaming the city for halting a bike and pedestrian bridge project that would have made it safer.
This woman pays with her life over our continued need to widen freeways instead of make improvements alongside and over the freeways.
Well, the mayor of San Carlos said the building, the pedestrian and bike bridge remains a top priority for the city. Well, a group of thieves almost stole Christmas from an East Bay family when they raided a Benicia business and drove off with 51 years of memories. Andrea Nakano reports that includes this family heirloom, a 1973 Chevrolet Corvette.
It was quite a unique thing to try to steal. So there's going to be a lot of people asking questions on what happened.
Some people name their cars, but for the Dodge family, this 1973 Corvette convertible has a special place in their hearts.
She's like a member of the family. I always joke with Michael, we could be homeless and we'd still have that car.
It was a car that Michael Dodge's father bought brand new without his wife's permission. It carries decades of memories from going through the school pickup line to Michael's senior prom. So when he got the call from police that his Benicia business was burglarized on Sunday, he went looking for his prized possession first.
When I came through the door there and looked out in the warehouse and it was empty, I think I just screamed, no. You know, just absolute horror.
After the initial shock, his wife and daughter orchestrated a social media campaign to bring Old Lady Blue home. Posts like these went up everywhere, reshared by friends, and finally, Tuesday morning, Michael got the call that led him to his car.
He just, hey, Michael, and I'm like, yeah, and he goes, we've got your car. And I said, that's what everybody's saying.
Michael got countless calls from others claiming they would return his car in exchange for cash, some even asking for more than $1 million. But he asked 2 questions to make sure the caller really had Old Lady Blue, to verify the mileage and to describe the valve covers on the engine, which the caller did.
I thought, okay, it's over. This nightmare is over.
The caller ended up being from the Colfax area. CHP officers tracked down the car and towed it to a safe location.
We drove up to Colfax area and it was at a tow yard, and we'd pull up to the gate and she's just sitting in the woods. It was kind of sad, wasn't it?
Yes. You burst into tears.
Yeah. Sorry.
The Corvette had some scratches, but Michael says it's nothing that can't be fixed. He's not sure if any arrests will be made. The most important thing for him is that Old Lady Blue is back home.
But it is like a Christmas miracle. It's like, this is the best Christmas gift we could ever get. You know, we don't need anything else. We're set.
Well, still ahead, a San Francisco Christmas tree lot doing good beyond its borders, with all proceeds supporting charitable programs. We're going to introduce you to this year's Tree Czar in Fort Mason.
It's here, that time of year, when Bay Area homes get decked out for the holidays. All this month, KPIX is bringing you the stories of the coolest, brightest, and the most amazing holiday displays, and meeting the people making spirits brighter, one light at a time. Decked out for the holidays, all this month on KPIX and Pix Plus. Sponsored by C's Candy.
Areas like Santa Rosa still getting hit with rain all afternoon, all evening long, while the rest of us get that much needed break before we all experience it into the overnight hours tonight. This is very, very intense as we head into the overnight hours. We're going to see wind gusts up to around 70 miles per hour along our coastline. We're seeing some of the heaviest rainfall while many of us are just asleep. But then as we wake up tomorrow morning, let's say we wake up around 6, 7, 8 a.m. That's when the bulk of the storm continues to sweep off into the east. So many of us are going to be waking up to heavy showers tomorrow morning, but don't think that it's going to be a washout if that's what you're waking up to. Watch what happens as we head into the afternoon hours. Those showers start to break apart, they move off to the east, and then we're left with just cloudy skies on the back end with a little bit of drizzle in the forecast for us up in the North Bay into the evening hours tomorrow night. And then we're also going to see drier conditions as we head into our Sunday forecast. That's important to note. Now, the National Weather Service has issued a couple advisories. A flood watch into the North Bay throughout the afternoon hours today until Sunday, but also a high wind watch all along our coastline as we head into the overnight hours tonight, early morning hours tomorrow. And I mean, look at these wind gusts. Up to around 50 to 60 mile per hour winds are expected at times. If you live in the higher elevated areas along our shoreline, it'll be even breezier. We'll have more on that coming up in just a bit. And as we take a look at the next 7 days, it starts to dry up as we head into next week. More on that, but for now, over to you.
In San Francisco, the Guardsmen's annual Christmas tree lot at Fort Mason has been raising funds for at-risk youth through scholarships and camps since 1948. Run by volunteers, it offers holiday trees, wreaths, and decor with all proceeds supporting charitable programs. Veronica Macias shows us how this holiday tradition is making a difference in the community.
Since 1948, there's been a tree czar with the Guardsmen to oversee everything in this tree lot. But it's not just about the trees, it's about community here.
I understand, yeah.
And this year's tree czar, Jack Welsh, says these guys, they're like family.
It is, yeah, it's very cool. Every year, actually, getting to design the logo for Tree Lot is one of the perks of being tree czar. So the unveiling of the logo is a big deal. We take it a little too seriously, but it's a lot of fun.
It's fun, and it's all for a good cause.
So this is our 51st year at the Fort Mason Festival Pavilion. Every year we rent this entire area out and stock it with trees, wreaths, garland, ornaments, and create a winter wonderland.
It's not only a fun-filled event here, but there's a greater purpose that's far-reaching. Every single dollar is going to help at-risk youth in the Bay Area with scholarships and fundraising for summer camp.
A lot of folks come in here and they think we're doing this professionally. They think we're lumberjacks, but our entire staff is volunteer. All these guys have day jobs. So we wanted to make sure people knew who the Guardsmen were and what our mission is, so they understand that this is all for charity. We're not here profiting from this. The group isn't profiting from this. Everything here goes to someone in need.
While the Guardsmen have many other fundraising events throughout the year, this one brings families back year after year.
I delivered a tree my first year to a woman out in inner Richmond who said she's been buying trees from the Guardsmen for 50 years and that her late husband was a Guardsman.
Those who work in education say the opportunities that the Guardsmen afford less fortunate kids can make all the difference in shaping their futures.
As the owner of a day camp in the city, it's just a great experience for kids to be themselves, no objectives, not to learn or sit still or do a task, but just have fun and enjoy their days. That's really what it's all about.
Thanks to the Guardsmen connecting with different sponsors like car dealerships in the Bay Area, they're able to provide this fun-filled lot for the entire family.
It's a lot of work. It's a second full-time job, but it's completely worth it when you see all the benefits for the people we provide scholarships and campership opportunities to.
Well, coming up in our next half hour in CBS News Bay Area, it's been a San Jose staple for nearly half a century, but now Christmas in the park is facing some serious financial trouble. Why the South Bay tradition is suddenly in need of support from the public.
I'm hoping that people can get the message that we're here, we're not going away, but we need your help.
And for cups to food containers to kitchen utensils, plastic is everywhere, but some may be worse for your health than others. Yamamoto. This is the Minute in San Francisco. Muni Chief Jeffrey Tumlin is stepping down by the end of the year. He took the position in 2019, right before COVID. The transit agency also faced budget problems and criticism over proposed service cuts. He'll be replaced by SFMTA's Director of Transit, Julie Krischbaum. Jurors will return Monday afternoon to continue deliberations in the murder trial of Nima Momeni. After 6 days of deliberations, the jury has not come to a verdict. Jurors could have opted out of the trial after the 6th day, but no jurors have dropped out at this point. Well, the state has given San Francisco the green light to turn the Great Highway into a full-time beachfront park. This comes after voters passed Proposition K to ban cars on the 2-mile stretch between Lincoln Way and Slope Boulevard. Next spring, the community will get to weigh in on the park's design. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. This is The Minute.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
It's a wet, cool, and breezy day for us today here in the Bay Area. And as we take a look at this storm on Futurecast, there's going to be times where we don't see too many showers, and then there's other times where we see some of the heaviest rain we've experienced all month long. Here's what's happening for us. Throughout the morning commute this morning, yeah, the roads were a little bit slick with just some light showers sweeping through. But take a look at this timestamp right above me. Around 2 o'clock this afternoon, we're just mostly dealing with partly cloudy skies unless you live up near Santa Rosa. They're going to take the brunt of the storm into the afternoon hours, and then it starts to tilt. As we head into the overnight hours tonight, early morning hours tomorrow, this weak atmospheric river brings in some heavy rain for us. Widespread throughout the Bay Area, along our coast with windy conditions up to around 70 miles per hour at times, all the way off into our inland spots with that heavy rain lasting into the 8 a.m. hour tomorrow morning. So it is going to be a very wet and heavy rainy setup for us into the morning hours tomorrow, but then we dry up fast on the back end of tomorrow afternoon. By 1 o'clock, we're just seeing some lingering showers up in the North Bay, clearing up fast into the overnight hours, and then we'll see dry conditions Saturday evening all the way until Sunday morning, lasting into Sunday afternoon. But the other thing I want to mention too, we're under a flood watch up in the North Bay until Sunday, but we're also dealing with a high wind watch issued by the National Weather Service all along our coastline heading into the overnight hours tonight, early morning hours tomorrow. We can see wind gusts up to around 50 to 60 miles per hour all the way down into Half Moon Bay just as we're waking up tomorrow. So keep that in mind if you do have any of those early morning plans scheduled. You're probably going to want to push it into the afternoon. On the good part though, we're drying up as we head into Sunday, a little bit more rain into Monday, and then clears up as we head into next week.
Well, anyone with plans to head to the Sierra this weekend, heads up, more snowfall is on the way. That snow is snarling traffic. This is a look at conditions today on Highway 50 at Twin Bridges. Chain controls are in effect, including on Interstate 80. An invasive mussel has made its way to North America for the first time. That's according to the State Department of Fish and Wildlife. Golden mussels were discovered in the port of Stockton. The species is native to rivers and creeks of China and Southeast Asia and was likely introduced by a ship from an international port. The golden mussel is now being blamed for blocking water systems and damaging infrastructure, and now many fear they could disrupt the natural habitat.
I mean, the Delta is a fragile ecosystem, really can't take another blow.
Officials are taking precautions, closing several boat ramps and launches to stop the spread in its tracks. Well, one of San Jose's biggest holiday traditions is facing serious financial trouble. Christmas in the park has been a downtown staple since the 1970s through its roots date back to the 50s. Our Lebanon Maris reports that officials are now asking loyal attendees to help keep it alive.
Well, tens of thousands of people enjoy coming to Christmas in the park every year, but how many people ever really stop to donate money to the nonprofit organization that puts all of this on? Organizers say not enough, and financial assistance is needed more this year than ever.
I remember working at the parade with my dad in the rain.
Stacy Holden is one of the behind-the-scenes volunteers who make San Jose's Christmas in the Park happen every year.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
This organization has been important to me, to my family, to everyone I know for as long as I can remember.
Stacy's mother was one of the organization's first board members in the 1980s. Now Stacy is on the board and worried about a growing economic Grinch that's threatening the long-term future of the beloved holiday tradition.
It does make me sad. I'm hoping that people can get the message that we're here, we're not going away, but we need your help.
Christmas in the Park is free and open to the public. It's not run by the city, but by a nonprofit that mostly relies on corporate sponsors to survive. But this year, several big supporters dropped out, leaving the organization with a $100,000 shortfall at a time when expenses are at an all-time high. So they're turning to their 700,000 yearly visitors and asking them to pitch in.
We're emphasizing the donation stations more this year because of our shortfall and because we need help from everyone in the community. If everyone could come and just give $1, $5, whatever you can, it would make all the difference. It would keep the lights on, it would keep the snow flowing, it would keep Christmas in the Park open and available to everyone.
There are 10 new donation stations this year, complete with QR codes for electronic transfers. Plus, there's a new wishing well and 2 spiral coin drops, because here every cent counts. But on this night, some of the see-through donation boxes were eerily empty.
I think it's sad because basically I've been coming here since I was really small.
Claudia and Enrique Villalobos brought their 2 kids, 9-year-old Ileana and 4-year-old Diego, to play in the snow, see the sights, and visit Santa at Christmas in the Park.
All right, next family in. Hello, welcome.
It's a private sitting with Mr. C, and there's no charge for this either.
Is there something special on your list this year for Christmas?
But as the family was exiting, you can see Enrique dig into his pockets. The Villalobos were the first of the night to donate dollar bills in the collection box. And from the looks of it, it was an experience that was well worth it.
It's fun because you always get candy canes.
Christmas in the Park is really here for all of us. It's everyone's event, and if everyone would help keep it going, we could go on for generations to come. And right now, it's really heartwarming when you see families come in. And
With Stacy, volunteering here is a family tradition, but one that isn't guaranteed. And so, in a place that celebrates the season of giving, they're asking for a little bit more.
Well, Christmas in the Park runs through January 1st, but if you want to experience the drive-through light show, you will need to buy tickets in advance online. In Solano County, a 10-year-old Aiden and his little sister Adeline are leading a community effort to keep a popular tourist attraction clean and free of trash. In years past, neighbors on Candy Cane Lane and Lollipop Lanes in Vacaville have been in charge of picking up after visitors and vendors who left their trash behind. But now, extra trash cans decorated with tinsel are being left out for people who visit the dazzling displays. 2 kids took action after they became worried neighbors might trash this Christmas tradition altogether.
It upset me because I saw a lot of people saying like, oh, they're treating us bad, so why should we keep doing it? And I love seeing this display every year.
Well, the neighborhood sees about 1,000 people drive or walk through the display every weekend during the holidays. Well, over the holiday, Americans generate a gigantic amount of plastic waste, about 25% more waste compared to the rest of the year. And today's Project Earth, some last-minute gift ideas for your loved ones, and Mother Earth, prompted by CBS News investigation and some scientific research. Ann Makovic reports.
Ho, ho, ho. At a recent UN conference on climate change, Philip McMaster, who goes by the name Sustain-a-Claus, is making his list and checking it twice. His message, the planet's getting hotter and we need to take action.
If we focus on childhood and we focus on the generations to come, we will make better decisions.
One major hurdle, plastic waste.
Plastic waste problem is huge, and it has only grown exponentially in the last 20 years or so.
Professor Kate O'Neill is an expert on the topic at UC Berkeley. She says the U.S. generates a staggering amount of plastic waste, about 97 billion pounds a year. Most of it made from fossil fuels, yet less than 9% of plastics ever gets recycled.
Even with the plastics that are recyclable, it's very rare that they can be recycled more than once without downgrading it to something that is unusable.
Most single-use plastics cannot be recycled. A recent CBS News investigation found even with a major company that promotes sustainability and recycling, there are problems.
After a good coffee fix, most of us try to do the right thing by putting our cup in the recycling bin. But we tracked some plastic cups that went straight from Starbucks into the landfill anyway. We asked the company to tell you, the customer, what's going on and what you can do instead to help reduce plastic waste.
Another concern, what's in some recycled black plastic?
Regulation is really lacking right now.
A new report found certain kitchen utensils and food trays made from recycled black plastic contained toxic chemicals. These chemicals are known flame retardants used in electronic gear. You can't tell just by looking at the object. You would have to test it.
We especially don't want to be using contaminated kitchen utensils that have toxic flame retardants when we're cooking our food. There are studies that show that flame retardants can actually leach out of contaminated kitchen utensils and into the food that we're cooking. And so something that people can do there is replace their black plastic kitchen utensils with safer options like wood or stainless steel.
A good holiday gift idea, along with a reusable cup. That should keep you off the naughty list.
Other zero-waste approaches to the holidays: reuse gift bags and ribbons, give digital gift cards, and don't waste any food. Have your guests bring reusable containers to bring home some leftovers. For more tips, just go to kpix.com. Well, up next, frustration among fans and Niner players today. What a teammate did during last night's game that's drawing plenty of criticism.
The other thing I want to mention too, we're under a flood watch up in the North Bay until Sunday, but we're also dealing with a high wind watch issued by the National Weather Service all along our coastline, heading into the overnight hours tonight, early morning hours tomorrow. We can see wind gusts up to around 50 to 60 miles per hour, all the way down into Half Moon Bay just as we're waking up tomorrow. So keep that in mind if you do have any of those early morning plans scheduled. You're probably going to want to push it into the afternoon. On the good part though, we're drying up as we head into Sunday, a little bit more rain into Monday, and then clears up as we head into next week.
Well, the playoffs are pretty much out of reach for the Niners after last night's loss to the Rams at Levi's Stadium. Maybe the biggest story from the game came out after the final whistle. Matt Lively tells us all about the drama.
This is the Audi Red and Gold Report.
If you thought the 49ers' loss to the Rams was bad, it only got worse after the game. Kyle Shanahan revealed that Devondre Campbell Sr., the linebacker who had been filling in all season for Dre Greenlaw, opted not to go into the game in the third quarter. Shanahan needed him to go in when Greenlaw came out, and Campbell said he wasn't going. After all of this, you could sense the frustration from numerous Niners players.
I think our team and myself, we know how we feel about that, so I don't think we need to talk about him anymore.
Will you release Devondre Campbell?
I we'll figure out something.
I don't like distractions on the sideline. I think that's ignorant, and I think it's just dumb. It's just stupid, and it's very immature. And I don't see how that's I just don't see how you can do something like that to to your team.
If he didn't want to play, he shouldn't have dressed out. You know, he could have told him that before the game. So I feel like there was some sucker that he did. For him to do that, that's some sucker stuff to me, in my opinion. Like, probably gonna get cut soon.
It is a shocking and a bizarre turn of events for a guy that has been present in this locker room every week this season to essentially say he wasn't gonna play tonight and giving no explanation. Obviously, he was not available in the locker room for us to ask his side of the story. For the Red and Gold Report, I'm Matt Live.
Well, coming up, we'll give you the personal tour of one of the largest holiday light displays in the Bay Area, how it takes months of preparation to put together Glowfari.
And we probably have our new layout by May of the year, and we solidify it then, and then we're ready to go.
Never give up, baby.
Santa Rosa still getting hit with rain all afternoon, all evening long, while the rest of us get that much needed break before we all experience it into the overnight hours tonight. This is very, very intense as we head into the overnight hours. We're going to see wind gusts up to around 70 miles per hour along our coastline. We're seeing some of the heaviest rainfall while many of us are just asleep. But then as we wake up tomorrow morning, let's say we wake up around 6, 7, 8 a.m. That's when the bulk of the storm continues to sweep off into the east. So many of us are going to be waking up to heavy showers tomorrow morning. But don't think that it's going to be a washout if that's what you're waking up to. Watch what happens as we head into the afternoon hours. Those showers start to break apart, they move off to the east, and then we're left with just cloudy skies on the back end with a little bit of drizzle in the forecast for us up in the North Bay into the evening hours tomorrow night. And then we're also going to see drier conditions as we head into our Sunday forecast. That's important to note. Now, the National Weather Service has issued a couple advisories. A flood watch into the North Bay throughout the afternoon hours today until Sunday, but also a high wind watch all along our coastline as we head into the overnight hours tonight, early morning hours tomorrow. And I mean, look at these wind gusts. Up to around 50 to 60 mile per hour winds are expected at times. If you live in the higher elevated areas along our shoreline, it'll be even breezier. We'll have more on that coming up in just a bit. And as we take a look at the next 7 days, it starts to dry up as we head into next week. More on that, but for now, over to you.
Well, the main branch of the Oakland Library is back open and had been closed for more than 6 months for renovations. They held a ribbon-cutting ceremony yesterday to mark its reopening. The library shut down last May while crews worked to improve parts of the building like the roof, floors, and heating system. Mayor Sheng Tao and other city officials were on hand highlighting the importance of public spaces.
Libraries is a refuge to many of our community members, our young people, our seniors, and everyone all around. It's a place where community can actually build together.
Well, the work is being paid for with a state grant and money from the city, all thanks to Measure KK. That's which voters did pass back in 2016. KPIX is helping you get decked out for the holidays. We're highlighting some of the best holiday light displays all around the Bay Area and introducing you to the people behind them. We kick things off in Oakland, where our own Kevin Coe got a look behind the scenes at Oakland Zoo's brilliant light display, Glowfari.
It's the first of many steps into a new world. It's Glowfari, the 5th annual holiday event at the Oakland Zoo. Isabella Linares is showing us around the Illuminating Lantern Festival, a never-ending project for staff.
We start thinking of our layouts starting end of December. So right when we're still doing this event, we're thinking of 2025 into 2026. And we probably have our new layout by May of the year, and we solidify it then, and then we're ready to go, and they're crafting away.
Glowfari features hundreds of thousands of LED lights, all hand-painted and handcrafted. Every year features new surprises and new environments to discover.
This is the first time we've done the farm area. So you see all the wheat here. We have our big tractor with the animals too.
You'll have plenty to see going from exhibit to exhibit.
We have our turkeys here with like these large pumpkins. We have tomatoes. We're gonna go through another sunflower tunnel.
Soon enough, you'll end up in Egypt with, of course, a Glowfari twist.
There's a lot of interactive features here. We have these glow swings. We have this like really psychedelic pyramid that we're gonna go to.
Through all the lights and interactive games, there's still the mission to teach here at the Oakland Zoo.
We also wanted to pay homage to the animals that live out in Egypt as well. So we have our camels. Signage talks about the animals themselves. So we're still a zoo. We want to educate people about animals and also their conservation.
You should not expect to see any animals out and about, but you might catch some flamingos if you're lucky. Glowfari is open until January 26. Doors open at 4:30 p.m. and close at 9. Tickets are cheaper if you buy in advance on oaklandzoo.org.
Well, we will be showcasing all of our decked out for the holiday stories and special shows on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Well, thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. We'll be right back with your First Alert forecast and a look at your top stories.